Eject. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Debbie. Today we are going to talk about some divorce cases, which is kind of my expertise. I've worked mostly in family law. I've even had divorced people before. I've done which is not a flex, by the way. I've even done separation agreements, prenuptial agreements. The most of my experience is in family law. So I want to kind of talk about the Erika Jayne Tom Gerardi case, or at least for now, I want to talk about the divorce aspect of their case. And I also want to tie in Kim Kardashian and Kanye West divorce as well, because both women did the same kind of thing. Before I get into it, I'm just going to give a disclaimer. I will eventually get into the civil lawsuit that's going on between Tom Gerardi and Erika, which is basically a class action lawsuit. They're being accused of stealing money from orphans and widows, which is crazy. So I just want to give a disclaimer. I have not been following the Erika Jayne Tom Gerardi civil lawsuit. I haven't been following that. I will be after, but I wanted to kind of start from the beginning, which is the divorce aspect of it. I kind of just want to chronicle and react to it in real time. So if you have been following it, this might trigger you because I'm not going to know what you know, basically. Just so you know, I'm starting fresh and I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt. So Tom and Erika Jayne have been married for about 20 years. They wed in January of 2000. They did not have a prenuptial agreement, and their split was announced on November 3rd, 2020. Because they were married for so long, Erika is entitled to spousal support, as it's the responsibility of the spouse that makes the most money to keep you in the same lifestyle that you are accustomed to. So generally, the duration of spousal support is about half the duration of the marriage. So since they were married for 20 years, generally Erika would be entitled for about 10 years worth of spousal support. It's usually the spouse that makes the most income that would be the payer spouse, and if you both make the same, then usually it would just be waived. So in order to have requested spousal support, she would have had to mark that on I'm not sure what it's called in California, but here in Canada we call the notice of family claim. She would have had to mark down that she would be seeking spousal support. But now Tom has requested to terminate his ability to pay spousal support. He's also requested that Erika pay his attorney fees, and Erika has also asked the judge to block Tom from requesting spousal support from her. It said they had an unconventional marriage. They spent a lot of time apart. So about a month after the split was announced, on December 2nd, 2020, Erika and Tom were sued for fraud and embezzlement by Edelson PC, which is a class action firm. In court documents, the class action firm alleged that the estranged couple are on the verge of financial collapse and locked in a downward spiral of mounting debts and dwindling funds, in addition to calling their separation a sham to fraudulently protect their money from debt collectors. So basically, Erika filed for separation a month before they got slapped with the lawsuit, and the date of separation does matter, and I think we'll talk about that later. It is possible that Erika knew that the lawsuit was coming, and so maybe that's why she decided to pull the trigger on the divorce. I don't think that necessarily means that she was complicit in whatever these allegations are against, I guess, technically the both of them, but it's possible that that was an act of self-preservation. I mean, look at Kim Kardashian and Kanye West. They were married for 6 years and their estate is estimated to be about $2.1 billion. In California, debts accrued before a couple splits could potentially be the responsibility of both partners, and that's why the date of separation is super important. What better way to make that super final than put out an article in TMZ so no one can say shit? So by doing that, by basically solidifying the date of separation the way that she did, Kim was able to shield herself from any liability for this lawsuit. And if you watch the show, Kim and Kanye were already having problems before that, so it's possible she knew that was coming, and maybe that was kind of the last push that she needed to pull the trigger and file the paperwork, because she probably didn't want to be on the hook for any of that. So basically it's an act of self-preservation, I would think. I'm not saying necessarily that's what she did, but on the outside looking in, that's what it appears to me to be as, in my opinion. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think we need to normalize women doing acts of self-preservation, because ladies, men cheat all the time, men do this, men do that. If the roles were reversed and he wasn't happy with your ass and he found out you're about to get slapped with the lawsuit, he'd leave you too. But I do find it interesting that when that happened in the tabloids, there's like, I remember seeing like, oh, Kris Jenner is so smart to make Kim file before the lawsuit hit. But Erika does the same thing and she is just completely villainized. I haven't heard any reference to Kim being shady for doing this, even though it's basically like the same situation, which is a separation before a major lawsuit. Kanye's lawsuit has to do with his Sunday service church. Allegedly, he wasn't paying people and a bunch of other allegations, but I think it's a class action too, which is the same as what is happening with Tom and Erika in a class action. However, I do have to admit that the Gerardi lawsuit, being accused of stealing from widows and orphans, that does, seem a little bit more intense. But it is still possible that Erika was in a similar situation where she was unhappy in her marriage. This lawsuit was coming and she just wanted to get out and basically save herself. I think that the fact that she did leave him just before a lawsuit hit as a family law paralegal, I don't think it's that strange. I just think it's kind of smart. Like you were gonna leave him anyways. It wasn't working out. Whether it was, today, tomorrow, 2 years from now, 2 months from now, it just wasn't working out. When you know something's coming like that, what better to kind of light a fire under your ass to be like, okay, well, I guess I should file for divorce now, because it can be hard to know when to pull the trigger. And Erika was saying that he had become like more mean, more stressed or withdrawn in the time leading up to the lawsuit. So if he knew he was coming, maybe he's stressed, I don't know, but that could have kind of caused their relationship to begin to decline from even prior to that happening. So even though to someone on the outside it can look like a very rushed thing, it was already probably done, but this was just the catalyst. I was watching The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and Erika was telling the story of dropping off her husband Tom at work and telling him that she loved him, and she said that he responded with a cold like, "Thank you, hun," and just kind of walked away. I could tell that the pain there was sincere, and she said that was the last time that she saw him. And in terms of going into a little bit more of like the lawsuit stuff, Tom would be bound by attorney-client privilege, so he wouldn't be at liberty to discuss his cases with anybody, even his wife. Erika, she was always doing her own thing, wearing hot pants, shaking her ass on the stage. She was filming a reality show, long hours, I'm sure. She was doing her own thing. She was not working with him in the office. She was not his, secretary. I think, as someone that works in family law as a paralegal, or has worked, I think that it's not a given that she would have known, because he's not supposed to talk about these things with her. I think the default would be that she wouldn't know, because based on that oath that you take, until at least facts or evidence are presented otherwise, that's at least where I'm at right now. And as a lawyer, you work long hours at the office. I wouldn't be surprised if you left for work at the butt crack of dawn, came back home in the evening, especially when you are the partner, and this was a very high-powered firm, or at least it was. I remember he was one of the lawyers for the Aaron Brockovich case. So this is not like a Mickey Mouse little law firm renting out an office where he's doing his printing at Kinko's. This was a full-time, like 70-hour-a-week probably job that he was doing. So I would also be kind of shocked if they were spending even a lot of time together, just because they both seem like they have really long, crazy hours and crazy lives. Maybe she could have noticed, oh, something's up with him. But until I know otherwise, that's kind of where I'm at. And this lawsuit being brought against Tom and Erika is a civil one by a class action law firm. So it's not a criminal lawsuit. They are saying that Erika is involved. So it's up to them to kind of prove that. And again, sorry, I'm just going to reiterate, I haven't been following it, so this is just me from a brand new lens. So even though these allegations against them both are super awful, I'm trying to keep an open mind and just try to remember that you're innocent until proven guilty, especially when it comes to the wife. I don't think just because you're married to someone that you're automatically complicit in what they do. In Sons of Anarchy, there's like this scene where it's like, either you tell your old lady everything or you tell her nothing. So it could be that she knew nothing, She had her own thing going on. She was Erika Jayne. She was performing at Pride. And so she had her own music career and stuff. So I want to kind of follow the case itself. I want to read the court documents, see the evidence. And it's another thing, it's also common for a spouse, especially the woman, to be honest, like the wife. If you are married to someone and he's rich, and you want to leave his ass, it's normal for them to plan it out, and they pretend like everything's fine, and they kind of have their exit strategy set in place. If you watched Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, that's basically what she said. She dropped him off at work, and then she moved her stuff out by the time he got home. So that's actually not that uncommon. And in family law, you'd be shocked how petty people can be. Like, everything will be fine. They'll plan their escape, and then they'll clean out the joint bank account completely. Then they'll hit you with the divorce papers, and then they'll ask you for alimony. Like, is that okay to kind of wipe out the joint bank account? No, not really. Sometimes you'll end up having to pay it back. I don't know the details, but apparently there's money moved. So that in itself, I don't know. I'm just saying it does happen. However, in the context of this situation, it does look a little bit suspicious, but it is a normal thing, if that makes sense. Like, it happens a lot. But in the context of an impending lawsuit, it does look suspicious. I'm going to look more into it and kind of find out what is going on. I don't know. Right now, I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt. But again, I have to really research. I'm just kind of dipping my toes into this case right now and going from there. So if you know more than me and you think I'm ignorant, I apologize. And I will probably continue to react with the civil case and updates, just because I'm invested. Well, just because I really like Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and I'll be real with you, she's my favorite housewife. So I'm kind of curious about like what's gonna happen, and these allegations against them are really crazy. We don't know the whole story, so, or at least I don't. You might. I don't. If they both are guilty of this, then they can fuck off, but I guess only time will tell. I guess that's it. I'm going to follow the case and go from there, and I'll update you guys with what happens with that. Yeah. Comment down below. What do you think, and why do you think that Kim Kardashian and Erika Jayne were portrayed so differently? Or do you think it's just because the lawsuit of Tom was just so much more egregious? I guess that's probably a good reason, but yeah. And what do you think? Do you think that Erika knew? Do you think that she didn't know? Let me know your thoughts. What do you think about all this? Try not to give me too many spoilers if you've been following the actual civil lawsuit. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you as always. Hope you enjoyed this, and I'll catch you in the next one. As always, bye, guys.